What's up, YouTube? This is Politically Incorrect, all right? So before I get into this video, I got to give a shout out to the brother Town Biz for putting this out there. I had not even heard about this at all. At all. And this is just another example of how the mainstream media pick and chooses who they want to demonize and who they want to protect. They're not out there trying to give us the news and inform us. They're trying to control what we know. And that's why I am at war personally with the media, whether it pertains to the mainstream media when it comes to politics or entertainment, or even when it comes to sports. No matter, I'm at war with these motherfuckers, man. And this is exactly what I was talking about with my homie, man, the homeboy. Down show my age, right? The homeboy. Nah, my homie LB, man. I was talking to him the other day about how the mainstream media, they pick and choose, who they want to demonize as a racist. And don't get me wrong, Donald Trump is as racist as advertised. But Joe Biden is arguably even more racist because he gives you more instances where he says racist shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's supposed to be this audio tape where Donald Trump uses the N word. And I don't doubt its veracity, but we constantly hear Joe Biden say racist shit in our face. We even heard him say the N word during a speech. And they covered it up saying, oh, well, he didn't mean to say it. So recently, I think his name is Cedric Richmond. He's a senior advisor to Joe Biden. And Joe Biden referred to him in his introduction as boy, my boy, I think, or boy. Now, Joe Biden isn't black, and he doesn't use the word boy in the same connotation that maybe we would, like, hey, yo, that's my boy right there. Even though technically, we shouldn't be saying that shit either, right? White men have historically used that term to demean black men. You can have an 85-year-old black man and some young 27-year-old fucking Mississippi shit kicker will call him boy. All right? Joe Biden claimed that he didn't mean any racial intent. Do you think he would have called a white staffer boy? No. This is the same guy, Joe Biden, a couple years ago in a speech in New York City, I believe, where he spoke glowingly of the white supremacists that he served with in the Senate. And he talked about how they were civil and genial. You know what I'm saying? These virulent racist fucks, okay? What are you talking about? James Eastland, one of the most racist individuals in the Senate, Strom Thurmond, Jesse Helms, okay, Robert Byrd. All of these individuals were cool with Biden. Because you have to remember, when Biden was in the Senate, he associated with the more conservative faction of the Democratic Party. He was not a darling of the Kennedy faction or liberal wing. He associated more, come on, pretty much totally with the more conservative and southern faction of the Democratic Party, which is one of the main reasons why people forget Barack Obama selected Joe Biden because of his gravitas in the Senate and his reputation as being strong with white voters. Hey, if Joe Biden approves of this nigga, yeah, he's presidential timber. So Joe Biden, this is a guy that, in the past, I mean, where can we start? I mean, this is a guy that supported legislation that helped to put black people in prison. Everybody knows about the crime bill, okay, in 94. That put hundreds of thousands, if not even over a million, black men in prison for crimes that their white counterparts got probation, didn't even serve jail time for, or light sentences. Black men were in prison. You just had people during the Trump administration. Okay? One thing I'll give Trump is this, even though it was kind of bullshit in itself about who they selected, but Trump, remember, released several black prisoners who had been incarcerated since the Clinton administration behind the crime bill, right? Because Clinton was worried about his reelection and he wanted to appear tough on crime. So fuck black people. We're super predators, according to his wife. He had looked tough on crime, signing welfare reform and all that shit. And Joe Biden was right there by his side when he was signing those documents, helping to pushing those documents, getting bipartisan support from Republicans and Democrats. But aside from that, Joe Biden was also a big advocate of many uh, of the bills that were passed in the 80s, in particular when it comes to drug policies, which disproportionately affected black people in a negative way, in a negative fashion. Joe Biden was often a champion of those bills. And just in his rhetoric, when he first ran for Senate back in 1972, he was in Arkansas. He wasn't running for Senate in Arkansas, but he was in Arkansas, and he appeared with oval fathers. And it was I think it was either oval fathers or William Frober. I think it was oval fathers. Segregationist governor of Arkansas. And in a speech, Joe Biden referred to black children as cockroaches. And the funny thing about it, when you bring all this shit up to people, the main thing that I keep hearing is, oh, it was a long time ago. People can change. Really, nigga? So a person can change, okay, from age 65 to about 80. All of a sudden, he's had this 180-degree flip, and now you just all pro Biden, right? But Trump is Trump is evil. Trump is evil, and he's the worst president ever. Good, fine, I agree with you. But Joe Biden is this saint. How about we don't support any of these motherfuckers? And what bothers me the most whenever I talk politics with my people, man, is it's like they can't get it out of their minds that the Democratic Party ain't shit. Like if you're not for the Democrats, somehow in their mind you're for Republicans, even though you can adamantly say, I don't fuck with either party, but you're for the Democrats, that must mean you're Republican. No, nigga, you have a choice. Don't you know you have a choice not to support either party? But I'm gonna tell you something. Over the past 2 years, because I've been so vocal against the Democratic Party, I've lost friends who ignorantly think that, hey, I'm some secret Trump supporter. That's how fucking, that's how brainwashed black people have become by this party. If you don't support the Democrats, then something's wrong with you. It's funny. In some circles, it is more acceptable now to be a trans person, to being a homosexual, to being a sexual deviant, and even an atheist than it is to not be a Democrat and black. That's like the ultimate sin. I'm gonna say this too about Joe Biden, and I think Quest X has said this in the past, and I think it might be true. Joe Biden may not serve his term in office. He may not complete his term in office, I should say. Um, People have to remember this about Joe Biden. This is a man who ran for president 3 times. An aborted attempt in 1988, ran in 2008, and then successfully in 2020. Now, in 2008, he dropped out early. Never really was a huge contender. Ultimately ran with Barack Obama as vice president. But in 1988, Joe Biden ran during a wide open primary, right? The same primary that ultimately selected Mike Dukakis against George Herbert Walker Bush in '88. What people forgot, some young people may not notice about Joe Biden, some young people, Joe Biden almost lost his life. I think it was in January, February or so of '88. Joe Biden suffered a massive brain hemorrhage, or aneurysm, I should say. Matter of fact, I think he had two. And he survived, but it was massive. And it took him a while to recover from that. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I've been researching about brain aneurysms and long-term effects. Now that was 30 over 30 years ago when he had the brain aneurysm. But you can't help but think that having suffered such a traumatic brain injury, which he recovered from, but you got to wonder if that increases his risk of suffering from some form of dementia as he gets older, because he's already becoming more and more forgetful. Um, and more in speeches, he looks terrible. The other day, I think he was talking about his granddaughter, I think it was, wedding, and he couldn't remember specific details of the wedding that he just attended. Now, you can chalk it up to getting older, fine, but you can't have that as a president. Now, see, Bernie Sanders, you might question his physical health because he had a heart attack, but there's nothing wrong with Bernie Sanders mentally. He's as sharp as he was 50 years ago. Trump is, yeah, but Joe Biden, it's getting kind of scary, okay? If you listen to this guy's speeches. Ultimately, you have to wonder about the possibility that the 25th Amendment could be invoked with this person. If it gets to the point where Joe Biden is unable to, uh, you know, step up to the plate and handle his duties as the president, either he's going to resign or the 25th Amendment will be invoked if he's mentally incapacitated. And in that situation, you know who becomes president. That's a very real possibility people have to look at. I don't think a lot of people look at that enough. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Joe Biden, for us as black people, I don't understand our continued support for the Democratic Party. They don't value us as a group. They don't work hard for our vote. They just get it because we are so docile and we continue to be so supportive of a party that really hasn't done shit for us specifically in 60 years, okay? Yes, that was a grand thing that LBJ did, fucking crook, okay? Yeah, he did. He did us a solid with that one, but that was back in 1964, 65. All of that, 67, 68. All that was over 50, going on 60 goddamn years ago. And the Democratic Party's been living off of that for decades, guilt tripping us. Okay, but the Republicans, Trump at least showed some interest. People got to remember this. Trump at least showed some interest. Whether you want to call it white guilt, whatever the fuck it was, Trump at least showed some interest in sitting down at the table and listening to black leaders. Whether it's the fact that it bothers him that people call him a racist, the fact is he was sitting down and willing to listen. The Democrats won't even listen to us, guys. They don't even listen to us. So at the end of the day, we got to stop this thing where, well, they're our friends. You don't have any fucking friends in politics or politricks or politricks. It's not about that. LBJ was a segregationist, okay? LBJ was in a position when Kennedy was assassinated where being a Southerner, he was the first Southern president this country had since Zachary Taylor in 1848, 1849, 1850. Taylor was from Louisiana at the time, although he was born in Virginia. So he was the first president from the Deep South since Zachary Taylor in over 110 years at the time. He knew that he had to give the Northern liberal establishment or flank of the Democratic Party something. So that's why he was so adamant about civil rights, because he needed their support, not only just to win the election, but to retain their majority in the House of Representatives. And he was in a unique position to do it because he was aligned with the South. He could get unanimous or overwhelming support for those things, those bills be passed. And black people were in a unique position where a guy that was so pro-segregationist just a few years earlier, now all of a sudden want to do everything for black people. Whatever the motive, who gives a fuck? So if Trump was going to sit down and do something, who gives a fuck if he is a racist? Because Biden's not going to do it. The Democrats aren't going to do it. Why? They don't gain anything from it. Trump was in a close election battle. Getting a couple of more black votes could have been a difference between him winning or losing. We got to look at politics in a bigger light, guys. We're politically ignorant. And the Democrats feast off our ignorance. Now, I'm not saying support the Republican Party. Fuck them. Okay? But I'm just saying, whenever there's an opportunity for us to gain something out of it, go for it. Fuck all of this other extra bullshit that people saying out here. We got to be smarter politically. That's all I got to say in this video. Tell me what you guys think.